We've got some breaking news, and it involves the Anti Weaponization Fund. No, not the Republicans in the Senate trying to figure out how to avoid voting on it one way or the other. Two senators, one Democrat, Cory Booker, one Bill Cassidy, Republican, have run to Judge Brinkema, a senior judge in the Eastern District of Virginia, to try to convince her with a new filing that she should convert her administrative stay or temporary restraining order blocking the fund. She should convert that into a preliminary injunction and keep that block in place all the way till the end of the case. And while they do that, it's in sharp contrast to what the Republicans in the House and the Senate are doing, which is they're wringing their hands and dithering, trying to figure out how they can vote for ICE funding without having to be tagged with the disgrace of voting for the Anti-Weaponization Fund, as Donald Trump puts his foot on their neck because now he wants the fund back. What he really wants is that part of the settlement agreement that gives him tax immunity from himself and his family, hundreds of millions of dollars going back about 16 years. That's what this is all about. But let's cover the new filing by Senators Booker and Cassidy. I'm Michael Popok. You're on the MeidasTouch Network and Legal AF, and let's get to the breaking news. There's been so many confusing reports. Let me see if I can break it down. Before Memorial Day, the Senate Republicans blasted Todd Blanche, who's now been appointed to be, but not yet confirmed to be, the Attorney General of the United States, for having the balls to come in there and ask them to support a fund to pay Jan6ers who beat up the police and made senators and congresspeople and their staff belly crawl on Jan6 through the Capitol. And so they took a recess and they said no, and they did not vote on it, nor did they vote on the ICE funding that was sort of attached to it. Fast forward, we're back from the Memorial Day break, and now they have to start to make decisions. And the Democrats want to stick it to them and make sure that the Republicans have to vote up or down, thumbs up or thumbs down, on whether they support the fund or not. Donald Trump, at first last week, because he's so erratic, while he was in hiding for 8 days. At first, he said, no, I'm going to walk away from the fund. I've spoken to Mike Johnson in the House. Now he says, no, I want the fund. I like the fund. Let's bring the fund back. At the same time, his Attorney General says out loud to a House member, says, no, the fund's dead. We're not doing the fund. This is all within 24 hours. And so nobody trusts anybody. In fact, it's more apparent that Donald Trump wants the fund and wants to pressure his Republicans and see what his power is over them. Cut to the filing by Cory Booker and Senator Cassidy. They've gone to court. It's Judge Brinkema's court, and they have filed what's called a friend of the court or an amici brief, an amicus brief. Now, before you think, well, what does it matter when strangers to a lawsuit file a case or file a request to be heard? We just had a very successful amici brief filed by 35 former federal judges about the Anti-Weaponization Fund, about the lawsuit that led to it, and the settlement in front of Judge Williams in Miami. And on the 12th of June and thereafter, she's going to be holding an evidentiary hearing to answer the question whether she has been fraud on the court by Donald Trump, the Department of Justice, and the Internal Revenue Service. So his lawyers have a lot of answering to do, including Todd Blanche. So while that's going on, as she considers whether the lawsuit that originally started the matter was filed in bad faith and was illegitimate, therefore the settlement was illegitimate, therefore the Department of Justice's use of its power to settle the case was illegitimate, while she decides on that, Judge Brinkema has put a pin, an administrative stay, blocking the fund until she gets full briefing in her case brought by 3 or 4 plaintiffs against the fund. Now, Cory Booker and Cassidy say, Judge, you should forget the politics here. We don't know what's going on with the erratic nature of the Trump administration, where cabinet members and Department of Justice heads don't know what they're doing, and Trump says the opposite. You put an end to it. You keep the injunction that you've just entered temporarily. You keep it preliminarily till the end of the case. That's what a preliminary injunction is. The difference between a TRO, temporary restraining order, and a preliminary injunction is temporal. It's time. One lasts longer than the other. The preliminary injunction lasts till the end of the case. A permanent injunction comes at the end of a case after final judgment forevermore. That's how those different levels of injunction work. So I think it's a very, very good argument. And she's going to grant the motion to allow this brief to be not filed, but to be submitted to her, and then she'll review it. Now, in the meantime, they're all over the place, as I said before, about this weaponization fund. And they can't get out of their own way where, Blanche is denying it and Trump is saying, I still like it. And senators are saying, we don't want to vote for it, but Democrats are saying you're going to have to vote for it. So this is where the black and white of the justice system, of the court system, can create a solution that apparently politics doesn't want to do. Now, Scott Bessent was up on Capitol Hill as well, and he is getting ripped to shreds for having to answer for that part of the settlement that Todd Blanche entered into, but with obviously the full consent of the Treasury, to grant Donald Trump and his family immunity from tax liability and audit liability for the last 16 years. That's worth a couple of $100 million. Here's a couple of back-to-back clips of Scott Bessent getting his ass handed to him. Play it.
Mr. Secretary, do you believe that all Americans should follow our tax laws?
Yes, Congressman.
Yes, good. So do I. And do you believe that for those Americans who break our tax laws, they should be audited or held accountable?
Well, I think there are two things there. An audit is not a result of breaking the law.
Yes or no? Simple question.
Well, no, it's not a simple question. It's
okay,
a two-part
then
question.
Let me break it into two. Do you think they should?
If you're asking me,
please don't
should every
interrupt
taxpayer
me.
be audited?
Please answer that. I came here for answers. If you came here to waste time, I'm going to try to make sure you don't do that. Do you believe that people who lie on their tax returns should be audited?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think that people who break our laws should be held accountable, our tax laws?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Very simple. Not a hard question.
No.
I'm glad we agree. So why is it that you are allowing President Trump to have complete immunity from being audited? The fact is that the judge's ruling in the litigation that references that slush fund only addresses the anti-weaponization fund. It doesn't even address Trump's immunity from audit. So I would like to ask unanimous consent to enter into the record the judge's order in the Floyd versus Department of Justice case.
Without objection.
Thank you. Now, Secretary, you said you're not an attorney. Is that correct?
Mercifully.
Okay. Well, I am, and I'm actually proud to be an attorney and know the laws, and I know how to read a judicial ruling. Furthermore, I know that since 1962, the Supreme Court has held that ongoing litigation does not prevent someone from testifying in a congressional hearing. So once again, I'm going to ask, why are you allowing President Trump and his family to have complete immunity from being audited?
As the IRS recommended that any taxpayer be granted immunity from an audit of their taxes.
Again, I'm unable to answer that.
You can answer it. You refuse to answer. Can you tell the American people, in the history of the Treasury Department, has there ever been a taxpayer who's been recommended to have immunity from an audit of their taxes?
Has there ever been a taxpayer who had his tax returns released, his
Thank
family,
you.
and every
So
employee?
I'll take that as a no.
Employees.
Let me ask you, sir,
Congressman,
since you
if you'd like
say
to
you're
apologize
relying
to the president,
thank you. I
and
reserve
all his employees today.
Maintaining
I would
my
join you
time,
in that.
and since you refuse to answer, let me ask you, since you say you're following the advice of the Attorney General, the former criminal defense attorney for Mr. Trump, as you know, the Attorney General cannot compromise a tax dispute unless it's referred to him from the IRS for prosecution or defense. Have you ever been involved in any way in a decision to refer a tax dispute to the Attorney General?
Again, I cannot comment on that.
You can't comment. Your argument here that you can't comment in this case makes as much sense as President Trump saying that he cannot. I understand you want to talk over me, but you're not answering the question, because you may have defined insanity by referring to Einstein, but your appearance here today and yesterday in the Senate defines deception, and that's what you're doing to the American people.
Hey everybody, Ben Meiselas here from the MeidasTouch Network. I wanted to let you know about my podcast partner, Michael Popok's new law firm. It's called the Popok Firm. Michael Popok's pursuing his dream of starting his own law firm, really based on the popular demand by all the Meidas Mighty and legal AFers who are approaching Michael Popok with their cases and saying, can you help us? And at that time, Popok was not able to. So he went out on his own. He started the Popok Firm, where he is now handling catastrophic injury cases like car accident cases, trucking cases, malpractice cases, big negligence cases, wrongful death cases. So if you or someone you know have a case like this, the consultation with Popok's firm is free. Give him a call. See if you have a case. It's thepopokfirm.com, thepopokfirm.com, or you can call 877-POPOK-AF, P-O-P-O-K-A-F. So 1-877-POPOK-AF. Give Michael Popok a call. And I'm really proud of you, Popok. Thanks for all the hard work you're putting in.
So these are important issues. Here's what I think is going to happen. I think Judge Williams is going to hold an evidentiary hearing on her matter to determine whether the federal court was used in order to grant a veneer of legitimacy to an illegitimate lawsuit filed by Donald Trump against the IRS, to put a veneer of legitimacy over an illegitimate settlement, where the Department of Justice was powerless to do it, but they did it anyway. And then she's going to make that declaration and start sanctioning people. That finding is going to be used in the several cases that are currently pending. There's at least 3 of them. One brought by Allison Gill, Mueller, she wrote, in Southern California, alleging that, hey, I'm a victim. I don't want people who aren't really victims to get the money. So if the fund is being set up and administered, I want a piece of it, or it should be blocked. I like that argument, by the way. Then you've got the Jan6, 2 Jan6 officers who brought a case that's pending in front of Judge Leon, the ballroom judge, that was brought by the Public Integrity Project, about this is a way to fund terrorists and violates the 14th Amendment, which is against paying the debts of insurrectionists. And then you've got this case in front of Judge Brinkema, brought by Democracy Forward on behalf of several different types of plaintiffs. There's a city, New Haven, Connecticut, Common Cause, a voting rights group, a pro-democracy group, an anti-abortion group, and then a professor who was arrested improperly during a protest and has been victimized ever since. And so that's the Brinkema case. So we're going to continue to follow it, all those different strands, one place, Legal AF. That's where you want to be for updates in this. Fast moving is an understatement. Come on Legal AF YouTube channel, become a subscriber. Follow me, Michael Popok, on Legal AF Substack, where I do live reporting every day. And I'll catch you up on the developments in this case politically and legally. That's where we sit, at the intersection of law and politics. So until my next report, this is Michael.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.